Welcome to Worth Your Time with your hosts from the nationally syndicated Bob and Tom Show, Kristi Lee, and the president and CEO of the Indianapolis Zoo, Dr. Rob Shumaker. Our mission to inform, entertain, and educate with guests from all aspects of life. We guarantee there isn't another podcast that features two hosts with such different backgrounds and discussions with remarkable people doing exceptional things. So let's get started. Here are your hosts, Kristi Lee and Dr. Rob Shumaker.
We have two very special guests, Dr. Rob. We have Mina and Steve. And Mina, do you just go by Mina Hawk now, or do you still use...
It's just, whatever.
Whatever.
If I'm introduced at a home show, I'm like, just say Mina. It's easier. But I dropped my middle name, and Starziak's my middle name.
Okay. All right. You're a married couple. Many people
married couple.
know you, of course, from HGTV and Good Bones and a bunch of other things that you've done. Your husband, Steve, is not as well known, but he is a powerhouse in the world of personal training.
Yes, as you get into the fall season, he's much better known on Instagram.
Yeah, that's how I met him. I didn't even know he was really your husband. I was looking for a trainer at one point and found him on Instagram. I don't know how you popped up on my Instagram, but you did.
Good.
And
it's working.
And then I reached out, and then I went, oh, wait a minute. I put two and two together, and I go, he's married to Mina. And you and I have met before a couple of different times. Yeah. We did a podcast together about 8 years ago.
Jeez.
It's been 8 years. Can you believe that? Things have changed a lot for you in 8 years.
Yeah.
A lot. We got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
So this show is probably going to just go off the rails. There's so much to cover. First of all, we should talk about where you are now. Where are you now?
I live about a block from here.
Okay.
It was a 4-minute walk.
So since last time, we've got two kids. So Jack just turned 6, and Charlie, she just turned 4. And I wrapped up the last season of Good Bones, like the last regular season, about a year ago. And then the interesting little spinoff that they pretended was Good Bones, wrapped that up about 6 months ago. And kept myself about as busy as I could with the last 6 months of catch up. I've just done everything. I'm the maintenance person at our rentals and our Airbnbs and organizing our house and the pantry. And I spent one day organizing all the closets, and I felt way more domestic than I'm comfortable with. I was like, I got to figure something out here.
Would you rather be wielding a hammer than a dust broom?
Yeah, I would. I like working, and I think it's such a big part of my identity for me. That's what I'm good at. I can do a lot of stuff, and I can get a lot done. And I can organize the heck out of a pantry, but it's just not quite as fulfilling. So I'm trying to appreciate the hard work that we've put into our life to allow me to have this time to figure it out. Because not a lot of people get that.
Yes.
I get that being able to wonder what I'm going to do next is a bit of a luxury. And I'm still doing some fun stuff, like doing some cameos on some other HGTV shows, and also working with HGTV and a production company to try to figure out a new model of a show that would be a little less demanding and stressful. I would love to do that at some point in the future, but right now
we're buying a new house. Would you like to remodel mine for HGTV? That would be great.
Yes,
How to take 90s honey oak cabinets and make them fun again.
Look, but honey oak has come back.
Oh, really?
Everything is full circle. People have honey oak. It depends what your carvings are on them now. I don't know, but
I can see it.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
I was just kidding.
I can see the honey oak.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just from the 90s. That was the thing.
Oh, yeah. This house was 1992, and it has not been touched since 1992.
I think the thing that's been super hard for everyone on the production side, the network side, is it's really hard to put Pandora back in the box. And Good Bones, you got so much of everything. You got these ding-dong boys doing silly, dumb stuff. And you got my mom, who's just a whole character in herself. You got me, then you got my husband, and then babies got dropped in the mix. So there was so much on top of these massive renovations, and being all my money, you had this massive risk. So it was just like kid in a candy store for the network. And now I'm like, can we do something that's a little less risky, and it's not my money, and it's maybe not my projects, and I'm a little less stressed, and I'm not a psychopath on all these anxiety drugs. Yeah, but we really can't. That's just going to be boring compared to Good Bones.
And I think that a lot of people don't realize, like your normal person doesn't realize that
that's the dynamic.
Yeah, that Mina is on the hook for the money. Like that's our family money that when you purchase homes and things like that. I think some people are under the impression that HGTV or the production company
Sure.
or whomever is floating the money, and that's just not the case.
They've got it good, don't they? They make all the money off of you, and you do, like you just
Exactly.
said, take all the risk. That's
Yeah.
not fair.
I had, when the show, probably season 1, maybe season 2, I had a few people from high school reach out, and they're like, hey, I'm renovating a home. If your wife needs like a
project for the show.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Great.
She's, oh,
Do you have
yeah, great.
100
Do you have 100 to maybe even up to $200,000 in liquid
Right.
cash to be able to do this? Oh, no, I
Shocked.
thought, I thought HGTV just paid for everything.
They really thought that?
Yeah, a few people.
I think a lot of people think that.
I
think
think
so,
they
too.
do.
Yes.
I can't remember which episode it was, and I have to admit I was naive about it. And Mina, I don't remember exactly how you said it, but your point was, I'm managing this entire project. I'm the general contractor. I'm the designer. I'm doing everything. And then you made the point, which kind of made my head explode a little bit. You're also managing doing the show.
Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
I don't think about that. You watch the show, you get wrapped up in the project. You're like, man, how's she going to do this? It's got to be so difficult. And then you have to remember, oh, this is half.
Yeah.
The other half is managing the entire show. So when you describe that, is
it's a
really
lot.
impactful when you think about all that being on your shoulders.
When you're not even in the room, and when I like describe,
He's crying
I
already.
know. He told me he was going to cry.
2 minutes in.
Yeah.
Before we even got here, he was like, I'm probably going to cry. I was like, why? What are we talking about today? He was like, it doesn't matter, but I will.
it's an emotional time of year.
Right. I
And
know.
but what you have been able to do over the last 10 years is just remarkable. I have a hard time holding our house down with 2 children when I have to. And you're doing 13 houses with, how many employees did you have at one point? Probably 35 employees, and they've all got problems. And like the houses all had multiple problems. I'm talking about like ceilings falling in and just, and then I would come home and just be like, nobody talk to me. Nobody look at me. But she just would come home and just be like, it was fine.
It was just the norm. It was the
Yeah.
norm,
Just, I have so
Okay.
much
Was
respect.
it fine, or were you holding it in?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I am used to chaos, life being a show. Like, just my family's big. It's crazy. There's divorces. There's just,
Right.
there's always something. Like, calm and normal, like Steve's sweet family when we started dating, I was like, I don't know how this is going to work because they either going to think I'm crying. It's just, so it's what I'm used to, which is, I think, when it's started to slow down and stop, which I purposefully did, it was just super challenging, like mentally, emotionally. But the build up to it was also such a slow burn, because when you start, you're like, this is exciting. This is fun. They're going to film me doing what I do anyways. And they're going to pay me $1,000 to do it. And then you keep, because I think every year I thought, it's going to end.
Right.
Let's make hay while the sun shines. And then it didn't. And then it didn't. And then it didn't. And then I was like, oh my God, that's grown into this like monster that everyone is in love with because they don't know how much of a monster it is.
Well, remember
and
we
now
would
how
say-
do we back off of this? So the last season, and I know you said you've listened to a lot of my podcasts, which the only reason I made my podcast was because I felt very misunderstood. Because watching the episodes, people are like, why is she so cranky all the time? Why is everyone else having I'm like, I'll tell you all why I'm cranky. Because I am the only one in charge of anything. They bebop on the set. They're like, oh, this looks funny. That's wrong. And then go home. So it was very challenging towards the end.
Also, I think people don't realize when you're doing a reality show that a lot of it is edited to make you look bad sometimes. Don't you agree?
So in all fairness, what was shown, what our production company put together and came out on HGTV, for the most part, I think was the best representation of us that you could put into 43 minutes of an episode. That being said, there were a lot of things that changed along the way, like my mom retiring in 2018, whatever it was. She retired. I bought her out of the company, but she was a character in the show. And when you have a golden goose, you're not going to cut the goose in half and just be done and keep going forward. So she's still part of the show and like doing her creative projects and stuff. But that changes the dynamic because now I'm the only one that cares if this business succeeds or fails. Because while the network wants the business to succeed so the show can keep going, they, I get why. They don't actually care that the business keeps going or makes money. And then there's only so many things that you can show. There were employees that were friends. There were employees that were family that were just not good employees. And you don't talk about that stuff publicly, outwardly, for a lot of reasons, because it's really not what people want. That's not what they want from the show. They want to watch the show. They want to see
That's Bravo.
my mom and I having this that's
Bravo.
Oh, we joked for years. Good Bones After Dark.
Yeah.
Bank. You wouldn't even have to film anything. Just take the footage
Right.
and you could make hundreds of hours of episode that people would love. But even now, it was last week, and a woman stopped me and said, I love what you and your mom have. I love what you and your mom represent. It's just so nice to see because fill in the blank, because my mom and I spent her last 6 months together in the hospital watching your show while she died of cancer. Or my mom and I didn't talk for 5 years, and seeing you guys together gave me the courage to reach out to her, and now we're best friends, or whatever it is. And I will never, if they're not looking for it by listening to my podcast, break their heart and say, oh yeah, we don't talk. It's not actually like that. Because it's just, why?
Right.
Like, people watch HGTV to feel good, to get a little inspired. Unfortunately, to probably start a project that they shouldn't start. But so yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, and it's, I think, very foreign to a lot of people for a perfectly good reason.
Yeah, mom-daughter relationships are tough no matter what. And yeah, I had a similar situation. My mother and I were not particularly close, and it was very rough, and I had to be a major caregiver for her, and I'm going to make you cry.
That's okay.
The very last words I said to her, she was in hospice over here at the hospital, and I walked in with a quilt, and I go, Mom, I brought you your favorite quilt. Good Bones is on. We're going to watch it. And she died 2 minutes later. I mean, it was just, that was her favorite show. I knew that's what she wanted to watch. We had it on in the room the whole time. So I can see where people do relate to you. But the other side of that coin is those great things happen. And I certainly don't have the celebrity that you have, but I've got my life out there in public too.
Yeah.
And I can't help but relate. I'm going to switch gears a little bit about how bad it can be too. On the other side, the social media has been such a horrible, yet blessing for some, but a horrible thing for others. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
It's just given people a voice, a lot of whom not shouldn't have a voice, but don't have to have anything behind it. Don't have to back it up. Don't have to be able to say it to your face. And I think that's the ugly part of it. Because we all have opinions. We usually just don't get to tell them to tens or hundreds or thousands or millions of people. And part of being successful on a podcast or a radio show or a TV show now is this social media part. That's just such a big part of it. And starting from the beginning with the show, it was really important. We worked with the production company to say, we want this to be as real as possible. I get that it's TV. I get we have to make it work, but we want to be who we are. And so I approached everything else in life the same way. And until it started being what, the middle-aged, middle America, honestly, like white women that watch HGTV it got ugly. And I think a lot of it started with when I had my mommy makeover, because even today, even right now, like I'm on Instagram comparing myself to everyone, like they're doing more. I should be doing this. Look at them. It's so unhealthy. And I was going to do my mommy makeover, and I didn't want anyone to see our family pictures at the beach and feel like, oh, like she works however many hours a week and she has 2 kids, like, and she gets together and she can look like that. And I work my butt off.
Right.
And I eat well, and I train with my husband, and I had a tummy tuck and my boobs done. So I wanted to be able to be open and honest with people about that. And I've done that with everything. And a lot of the times I regret that, because it's just seems like it's not worth it. And
you do that for you, though.
The
Right.
6,000 to 12,000 people that listen to my podcast every week, that's who it was for. And they would send me messages all the time. Thank you so much. This means so much to me. Like, you give me the courage to do X, Y, Z, which I love. And unfortunately, there's way fewer of them than there are of every other awful human that's going to say the awful thing. And it's the awful stuff that sticks with you. So you have to have very thick skin. And I just often try to remember, and I've said it to a couple people, they'll say something nasty and I'm like, it's really unfortunate that you feel comfortable saying that to me and you don't know me. I don't think you would say it to my face. I don't think you would say it to anyone's face. So I'd really like to understand like why you felt comfortable saying that. And people get very uncomfortable and immediately, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, you didn't think I was a real person. You didn't think I was reading my messages. It's some like bot or intern or whatever. No, it's me.
I'm curious if it's even magnified more because, I don't know, a generation ago or less, everything was about your living room. That's where your TV was.
Yeah.
I'm in somebody's living room every night on my show and they think they know me. There's that now, but you're also in their back pocket. You're on their desk at work. You're at whatever device they have. And as a viewer, people genuinely think they know you.
Oh, yeah.
She says that all the time.
And they don't.
Yeah.
And they don't. They know what's portrayed in your show.
Yes.
And that's got to be remarkably difficult when someone walks up to you, calls you by your first name, and thinks they know you personally. It's got to be tough.
The early on in our relationship, it was
Everybody's laughing at me. This is true.
No, I deal with this too. I'm not trying to
sure.
compare
Of course.
myself,
Of
but
course.
it's,
I think it was before we had kids. But no, it wasn't because the store was open. Steve and I would walk from our house in Fountain Square over to the store in Bates Hendricks all the time. And we're on a side street and this car drives by, squeals their brakes, backs up. This gal gets out of a car. She is losing her mind, runs up to me, screaming, yelling, hugging me. She's crying. She's so excited. Like, this is the best thing ever. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, no, it's fine. Take a picture. We'll chat, blah, blah, blah. And they pull away and Steve is just like, what world? He's like, I would never, there's no one that I can think of that I would bum rush, let alone touch. And I'm trying to think to him, I'm like, okay, David Beckham is your person.
Yeah.
Like you
There's
would,
one
you would be.
take him down.
Things might get weird
You
with
just-
David
You would
Beckham.
just touch him without any.
I don't know if I would touch him, but I would
But
definitely.
in his explanation was like, no, but I would not approach him and try to hug him. And I was like, but that's
Genuine
because
question. Do you have
his-
anybody? Is there anybody in the universe that you would like stop your car, put it in reverse, and freak out and demand a? You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
Right.
No.
But I told
no.
him that this is
Well,
the
Mina.
difference.
I would. But
Other than me.
Well,
Besides
David
Mina.
Beckham seems like a friendly,
Appeal,
amazing
too,
gentleman.
right?
He would, save a puppy or whatever. He also, you don't feel like you know him well enough to hug him. And one of the things I think that made the show so successful is because people genuinely felt like they did. Like, you are my sister. You are my friend. You could be my mom. And that they knew us that well from what they saw on TV that it doesn't cross anyone's mind that it might be weird because I don't see you that much. If
That's
ever.
a wonderful compliment for you, though. It's
agree.
a beautiful compliment.
100%. And that's
how
why
well you did it.
That's why
I
I've
agree.
never, because people ask me all the time, is it annoying that people bug you? Do you want them to leave you alone in public? And I always say, absolutely not. The reason the show is successful is because these people.
You're
And
approachable.
It is me. Like,
Well, the fans
I've
make the
gotten
show.
way more comfortable with being touched than I ever was. Like, I'll hug anybody. I'll hug a dude down the street that I don't know.
Now you did it.
How do you feel about that, Steve?
But it makes me happy that people feel like
Yeah.
they know me and that they like me and don't
Look,
want to hug
there's
me.
plenty of characters on Real Housewives of X, Y, and Z. There's no way you would want to go up to these women, right? I've only seen background when I'm like cooking dinner. I'm sure you've never seen an episode, but it's garbage TV. And I would be
it's the
like,
best
stay away
garbage.
from that lady. That lady is crazy. But on the opposite, Mina is so approachable because of her personality, and her personality carries over onto television. So people feel like that's a good person that I want to go up to and shake her hand or give her a hug or a kiss on the cheek or whatever. But there are definitely personalities on TV that you'd be like, oh, don't look over. Don't make eye contact.
How does that make you feel when people do that to her, though?
99.9% of the time, I'm flattered.
Right.
Literally and proud. Was it 3 days ago.
We were at the garage.
We were at the garage in Indy. Do you guys
Yeah.
go there much? Okay.
Sure.
And for some reason,
It's a big restaurant hall. For
Yeah.
those of you that aren't from
It's a
here, it's like a
beautiful
big, wonderful
giant
food
food
court.
We had
Yeah.
our
It's
kids,
amazing.
and we were having like a play date, and it was like the kids are going crazy. They're on around, they're going everywhere.
so
We've
we're in
got the
charge of,
food.
like,
We're
4
trying to
kids.
walk out. We are
Yes.
making forward progress walking out.
Do you want me to tell the story? Because it's funny. And they can edit it out if they want. A young gal rushes up to Mina, and I see it going on. I'm like, God dang it.
And I usually don't. I'm oblivious until they're right here.
Your cursing policy on
You
this?
curse, I don't
I was
care.
like,
Podcast.
God damn it. I'm trying to wrangle 2 kids that I just met. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this play date. And I'm like, okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And I see this happening. I'm like, terrible timing. And she was like, my husband told me not to do it, but I'm going to do it. And I'm like, and it happened.
After
and
we
it-
left,
and it-
I wanted to tell her,
Hold on.
you should have listened to your husband.
See, that's the punchline. You can't finish my punchline.
You should have listened to your husband. And I said, and that's why that's an inside thought, baby. And you need to always keep those
And I
inside.
did keep it inside. So she runs up to Mina and she does the whole thing. And she's, my husband told me not to do it, but I did it and I love you and da-da-da-da-da. And it just lasted 2 minutes too long.
Yeah.
And we're walking away and I was like, you should have listened to your husband. That's what I said. And
But-
Mina was like, no, that's an inside thought. And I said, I kept it inside.
Did she hear it, or did you say it out
out of
loud?
the
I
building.
see, I see.
We were like,
You said it for her.
I-
Okay.
It's
we were
very
out of the
possible
building.
Steve's eyes said it the whole
Yeah.
time because he
I
doesn't
was like, I
have
had
much
like
of a poker face.
backpacks. I had like 4 coats. That my attention was not. She was safe. My job in those situations is to make sure she's safe.
Oh yeah, I've never
And
felt.
no,
Yeah.
I've never. I would manage the situation if I felt that it was going in a direction that wasn't appropriate. And 100% of the time, it's been appropriate.
Yeah.
But 0.1% of the time do we have 4 children with us. 2 of them aren't ours. The coats and the backpacks. And it just wasn't
Bad
the
timing.
greatest. The timing was bad.
Right.
And so that's why I bring it up, because it just happened 2 days ago. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Does this ever get directed at your kids?
Yeah.
Because to me, just myself, that would be a very
Don't
hard
love
line.
that.
Yeah, that'd
don't
be a
love
very
the.
hard line.
I
Well,
was
it's
getting
hard
gas. I was getting
because-
gas not too long ago. Was finishing up a swim class, and got gas, and I don't know the laws, so I bring my children into the gas station still. I don't know if I'm allowed to leave them in the car.
Yeah.
Maybe if you turn it off and take the key. They're at that age where they would sit still. But
Yeah, but you never know.
And they also want a treat.
And you guys would be the ones, we found these kids in the car. Guess whose
100%.
kids they are?
So I'm walking in, and I've got Jack and I've got Charlie, and I hear Jack Richard. Oh, dude.
That's got to be horrifying.
I was like,
Who knows my kid?
I turned around and it was just a harmless middle-aged woman. And I was like, I gave her the high and we just kept it moving.
well, and I
Despite
think
what I wanted to say or do.
there's the whole conversation around kids, social media, consent, all of that, and they've always been a part of the show. Jack was like 5 days old and I was stir crazy. I wasn't supposed to be filming. I wasn't supposed to be on set. And I'm like, no, it's not set. This is my job. I need to check it.
Yeah.
And thank God I did, because you guys are effing up the fireplace. So
I think you almost fell off a roof.
no, it was it was a battle with Mom and Corey about this fireplace when I had Jack. He was literally probably 5 or 6 days old. But they've always been there, present on the show. So it didn't feel like. I always find it interesting when people post pictures of their families and then put hearts on their kids' faces.
Yeah.
We have friends that do it. I respect the decision. To each their own. I personally would just not post them or show them, but they're going to be known whether or not I post them on my social media. And so it's tricky. It's tough. And because they grew up the way they did, we're having a dance party at a Taylor Swift Eras tour in the living room this morning, and Jack's make a video. Like if someone stops me to take a picture, they're like, can we get in? And they want to jump in. And
That's all I know.
they're little characters. And I think it's also just so different being in Indiana. And unless you're from here, it's probably hard for people to understand, like, we're not LA famous.
Yeah.
We're not in
Yeah.
New York.
Again, it comes
Like,
back to the HGTV. Thank God it is HGTV as opposed to try being Mel Gibson's son. Right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's just different. And if I ever felt, I would never be in a situation where I felt unsafe, like it wasn't something I could manage. But yeah, people recognize them before they'll recognize them. They'll be like, oh my God, because they see Jack or Charlie. And then they see us or something.
I was at the cake bake shop last week. Cake bake shop.
Sure.
Okay. Getting Mina her favorite cake for her birthday, and a lady was exiting, and she goes, Hawk Fit? And I was like, yeah, hi, how are you? And I'm like, I'm at the most calorically dense
Place in the city.
place in the whole entire city. Hi, how are you?
He's like, it's not for me. It's not for me. It's for my wife.
Better if you had frosting on your face.
Right. I wanted to be like, I'm here for my wife. I'm here for my wife.
That is a great place for us to take a break. And we are going to come back with the second half of our podcast. And we're going to switch to you a little bit more. And we're going to talk about, since this will air in January and everybody in January is doing what? They want to lose weight. They want to get fit. They want to feel better mentally. They want to do all these things. So that's what we're going to talk about when we come back.
You've been listening to Worth Your Time with Dr. Rob Shumaker and Kristi Lee. If you like what you hear, please give a review wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best compliment. Thanks to our producers, Chris Spangle of Leaders and Legends, LLC. You can reach him at leadersandlegends.net. Also, thanks to Sophie Ritz. I'm Christopher Geisen. Thanks for joining us.